Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Adam Jackson, co-founder of Braintrust, and also the co-founder of digital asset management firm Cambrian Asset Management. He joins me to discuss the rise of the decentralized workforce and how Web3 will get us there. Adam, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me back, Jill. Great to see you.
You got it. And how did the pandemic change employee and employer perceptions of the workplace? And how are employees and employers responding to return to office strategies?
Oh my gosh. Well, the pandemic basically made remote work the new normal, and it kind of proved that many knowledge workers, information workers can actually do their job just as well, if not better, by remote with Zoom and Asana and Google Docs and those things. So that started this wave of remote work. And then now we're seeing this kind of like, hey, get back to the office thing mixed with, massive layoffs in tech, which is creating, quite a dynamic scenario.
What is preventing the talent company connection?
So there's a lot of noise in the middle of talent interfacing with companies on their own terms, right? There's a lot of sort of bluster from top executives saying like, hey, we own all these buildings in New York and San Francisco, and darn it, you better get back here, and we want butts in seats, right? And I think that's just emblematic of large organizations that maybe aren't managed that well. There's knowledge workers now, especially in IT, where Braintrust operates, really want to be remote. And so what's getting in the middle there is staffing firms that mark people up too much, marketplaces that are trying to take as much profit out of this equation as possible and making it hard to understand who even is working on your job. There's just a lot of friction in the middle right now.
Yeah, well, personally, I think it's great that you're able to have a hybrid work environment, because the diversity of thought, rather than having geographically centric people that can work in New York or can work in San Francisco, but to have diversity of thought around the country and the world, I think makes it kind of special. How can Web3 enable a decentralized workforce, and where does Braintrust come into play?
Sure. So Web3, decentralized, all these kind of buzzwords that people don't like very much anymore, understandably. But essentially, what it means is networks of talent that are owned and operated by the talent that make their living on them, right? And so instead of having this big middleman, this big consulting firm or staffing firm in the middle that kind of decides who gets what opportunity and who goes where and what to charge, and hey, can we charge a bank more than we could charge this company, and just getting in the way, a decentralized or talent-owned, user-owned network is what we call it, cuts that middleman out and makes the whole process more transparent. Oh, and way better economics, meaning client dollars can go 50% further, talent make a higher hourly rate, they keep more of the value they create. Oh, and because it's decentralized and tokenized, Braintrust has a token that helps the community decide what does the talent do next? How hard should it be to become talent on Braintrust? Those sorts of things. So it's really the essence of Web3 is crushing down that inefficient middleman and giving the value back to both sides.
Do you think this hybrid work environment is here to stay, or do you think it would be phased out as younger generations of people come to work, and you have to factor in the experience and the physicality of being in the office? Or do you really think that a hybrid situation is here to stay?
It's absolutely here to stay. So remote work became this new sort of hey, here's the new normal. And then people really adapted to it, and they adapted to having the flexibility to work from where they want, when they want, and if you're a freelancer, for whom you want, and be able to, drop out at 3:30 to go pick up your kids, or, it just much more flexible, right? It's like, hey, if I'm supposed to bring my work home with me, at least let me do it on my terms, right? So now it went from this kind of a weird thing that we're trying to figure out in 2020, 2021 to table stakes, right? We're seeing many knowledge workers, especially in IT, are I'm not taking a job unless it's hybrid, meaning I come to the office once a week, once a month, or fully remote.
Yeah, it's so interesting because you have companies even publicly on their websites that are promoting healthy work-life balance, and you kind of have to put your money where your mouth is, because you want to be able to go to the doctor or pick up your kid, or not have the stress of a 2, 3, 4 hour commute. Kind of lends to what you're saying publicly as well.
Yeah, look, having to commute, live in a city you don't want to live in, that you probably can't afford to live in, sit on a freeway, and then go get tortured in a cubicle farm. Oh, and then when you come home at 6 o'clock, you're making dinner for your kids. Oh, you got to watch the iPhone and answer emails before you go to bed. That is not work-life balance, right? That was a really unfair scenario, pre-COVID. And now, this ability, we've shown everybody that we can do it remotely now, just as good, just as well, if not better. That's how we reintroduce work-life balance and be more fair.
All right, Adam, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks for having me, Jill.